Hello, my name is Mia Gomez, and today we will be covering Opportunity and Other Myths, Voices from the Borderline. To supplement this conversation, we will be using a work by CHOCK titled Illegal Alien and Opportunity Myths to better understand the realities of the current immigration debate and what exactly is being hidden. They call it the land of opportunity, but for many, it is not a dream. It's a myth that hides real struggle and erases real people. First, in 1975, Congress held immigration hearings, but they weren't just about finding facts, they were about storytelling. Ritual performances where politicians turned real people into symbols. The illegal alien became the villain in a national myth. From CHOCK, page 281. The mythmakers used a conventional narrative to create an apparently concrete reality out of what was in fact ambiguous, complex, fragmentary, and uncertain. The first interviewee is an Arizona State University student who has chosen to keep their identity hidden given the encouraged reporting of our peers by other Arizona State students. So the question I will be asking this student is, do you feel like the American dream includes you?
Unfortunately, I don't think the American dream includes me, especially because of my current status. The American dream to my parents was to come here so their children can receive a better education and have better opportunities. We did come here on a visa, but unfortunate circumstances came about to where we couldn't adjust our status. I don't feel the American dream includes me because of the lack of resources for students like me to further their career, even though we have no criminal records or have nothing to do with our status since we were brought here at such a young age. Now I face the feelings of not being safe anywhere and always on edge, don't really have options after college and little to no opportunities. I will have a degree soon and not sure where I'll end up regardless of the hard work I put in for the last 4 years of college.
It is becoming harder to believe in the American dream when we have student-led and faculty-supported clubs promoting the reporting of other students that are simply trying to get an education. But thankfully, not all legislators have turned their back on the dreamers that currently feel hopeless and helpless under this administration and this anti-immigrant rhetoric. In response to a club tabling on campus with disturbing signs like "Report them here" and "Get them all," ASU's Aliento organized a peaceful protest in solidarity. While their table had just 4 members, over 200 of us gathered to stand up for our undocumented peers. We also submitted a petition to ASU administration calling for action against this kind of targeted harassment. Some Arizona legislators took the time to listen. After several days of students sharing their stories at the Arizona Capitol, they responded by writing a letter to ASU's president. This is the power of storytelling. By speaking truth to power, we can spark real change and shed light on those often left in the shadows by the myth of opportunity. Because the truth is, for many immigrants and students, that opportunity is constantly being taken away. We can't be fooled by these myths. We must keep telling our stories, grounded in truth and history, and fight for a more just and inclusive system together. The second interviewee is Reina Montoya. She is CEO and founder of the nonprofit organization Aliento. And in this interview, I will be asking her, what kind of myths do you hear in the current immigration debate?
One of the biggest myths that I often hear when it comes to immigration is people saying, why don't you just get in line? Well, the reality is that there's no line. As a DACA recipient, there hasn't really been any type of immigration reform since 1986. I wasn't even born yet. So I think people really need to make an informed decision, understand that the immigration system that maybe their great-grandparents had is not really relevant today.
Apart from getting in line, another really big myth we hear is that people are just here to steal. And that's not true. People are here to survive or to build better lives for themselves. But still, time and time again, we can see politicians blame undocumented folks for these problems, instead of talking about poverty or employers. That's deliberate. That's power protecting itself. In CHOCK's work on page 283, we can read that illegal aliens are made scapegoats in which to blame for American class contradictions. And this is true. Today, this is still happening. The third interviewee will be the son of an undocumented individual. Their identity will also be hidden for safety purposes. The question I'll be asking this interviewee is, what is it like living in a family or place shaped by the border?
My dad paid taxes for years but couldn't get health care. My dad struggled to leave the house to go to work for months because he was scared of ICE. We've done everything right. We've never been pulled over, never stolen, never even driven past the speed limit. But he and others like him, they're still seen as less than. The local police are here to keep communities safe, but under legislation like SB 1070, we had no other option but to avoid them. The system pretends like we're invisible, but we're here.
But in Congress, these stories weren't told. Instead, myths were used to erase history and justify inequality. Congressman after congressman used words like opportunity, but only for those they deemed worthy. From CHOCK, page 290. The opportunity myth posits a Promethean individual while denying other than individual ideological possibilities, like community, foreignness, or poverty. The opportunity myth doesn't ask about root causes. It asks if you're like us. It doesn't care about the truth. It wants a clean story. I myself am the daughter of an immigrant. And oftentimes the children of immigrants share this experience of a great pressure to maximize our opportunities given the great sacrifices made by our parents. But oftentimes, this success is confused for assimilation. I believe that you can do both. You can recognize your achievements in the United States while still calling out the injustices in our immigration system. The truth is, naturalized citizens and those who know an immigrant carry the responsibility to make sure that their success stories don't leave other unfair and real stories untold. Like what happened to Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who was recently unlawfully detained despite having legal permanent status. He was detained by ICE on March 12th and flown to El Salvador to remain in a prison. To this day, he remains unaccounted for. Despite the Supreme Court's ruling that the Trump administration must facilitate his return to the United States, a few days ago, Bukele, the president of El Salvador, met with Trump, and they laughed in the Supreme Court's face, saying that they would not help return a terrorist. The reality is that legal permanent residents are being detained, and to deny that this has anything to do with racial profiling or physical presentation is to deny reality, and to actively believe these myths. If we want a better future, we have to tell better stories, ones with truth and ones with history, and with people who have always been here, even when no one was listening. But myths can be broken, and the narrative can be rewritten by real stories and real voices. The people in this video aren't symbols. They're friends, they're family, they're this community, they're this country. From CHOCK, page 290. In family memory, the opportunity myth can always be challenged again.